This is a Sports Catastrophe production. Hey there, hello, hello there. It's Joker Diamond welcoming you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And you're like, a brand new video? Finally. Yeah, well, August 10th and 11th, I couldn't find anything cool. So, I did August 11th. I did John Daly's 91 thing on this day, and then Hulk Hogan for birthday boy. And of course, and I couldn't find anything good for August 12th other than the 94 baseball strike, and I already made a diatribe about it. But simply put, this birthday boy is a tennis icon. He had the record for Grand Slam titles until one Roger Federer took care of him. He was a former number one player. He played from 1988 to 2002, winning 14 singles titles. And people thought that was going to be a record. But no, it's been surpassed by Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal, the big three. He had won 7 Wimbledon titles, which was a then record before it was broken. He had 5 U.S. Open titles, 2 Australian Opens, but no French Open titles. He had been year-end number 1 6 straight years, from 93 to 98. He was known for his serve, I call him Pistol Pete, and his Pistol Pete Sampras. Pete Sampras was actually born to Greek immigrants. And Sampras had a idol, Rod Laver, and he learned well. Sampras would turn professional at age 16 and would finish 97th in the world after starting the year at number 893. He lost his first professional match at a U.S. Pro Indoor event. However, he shocked everyone by defeating 2 top 40 players before losing to Emmanuel Sanchez. Sampras would lose his first Grand Slam match at the U.S. Open to Jaime Yasaga of Peru. But Sampras improved in 89 to number 81. He lost in the first round to Christian Sayaku and actually won a match at the 89 French Open, but he lost to Michael Chang. Sampras shocked a lot of people in the U.S. Open by getting to the 4th round. In the 2nd round, he took care of Mats Wilander, who was seeded number 5 and the defending champion, which was shocking in itself. So he got to the Sweet 16 before losing to Jay Berger. And then he won in 1990 in the Australian Open, beat Tim Mayat, number 12, in the first round, before losing to Yannick Noah in the 4th round, round 16. He did win the Ebel U.S. Pro Indoor, defeating Andre Agassi and Mayat. He went up to number 20 on the list. Sampras would finish number 5 in 1990. Sampras couldn't do well at Wimbledon. He lost to Michael Chang in the quarterfinals of the Canadian Open in T-Dot. He was trying his best. And shockingly, he won the U.S. Open title in 1990, taking care of Thomas Muster and Ivan Lendl. On his way to the final, semifinal, he took down John McEnroe before taking on Andre Agassi, his fellow American. Sampras crushed Agassi, become the youngest U.S. Open champion at 19 years, 28 days. And Sampras would win the year-end tournament in Germany. It was shocking. It was like he was only 19. And anyway, Sampras would lose to Jim Courier in the quarters of the U.S. Open, but then he said that he felt relieved he didn't have to defend his title. There's some disparaging remarks about that. Sampras got to the semifinals of Wimbledon in 92, lost the U.S. Open to Stefan Edberg. And Sampras said that was a wake-up call for him, trying to be number 1 and all that. Anyway, Sampras would get much better. He got to the semis in 93 of the Australian Open, a quarters in the French, won his first of 7 Wimbledon titles in '93, taking down Jim Courier in the final, and winning the U.S. Open as well. And then Sampras would win the Australian Open in '94, being Todd Martin, which meant he had 3 straight majors. Unfortunately, the French Open would always be his biggest bane, if you will. I mean, it's the only major he hasn't won one title in. He won U.S. Opens, he won Australian Opens, and he won Wimbledon, but like, he beat Goran Ivanisevic. All that. Sampras and Agassi would have a giant rivalry in '95, facing each other in a couple of tournaments. Sampras at the Australian Open in '95 found out that his longtime coach Tim Gullickson was forced to return to the U.S. and was diagnosed with having brain cancer, and then he would die. Saddened by Gullickson's illness, Sampras visibly was weeping, but a spectator told him to win it for Gullickson. Sampras did lose the final to Andre Agassi, though, in 4 sets. Sampras would get his revenge on Agassi at Indian Wells, and then he would win his 3rd straight Wimbledon. Sampras suffered badly at the Australian Open in '96. He lost to Mark Philippoussis, an Australian who was unseeded in the 3rd round. Sampras would have his best French Open run in '96, getting to the semifinals, losing to Evgeny Kafelnikov of Russia. And Sampras would suffer in '96 in the quarterfinals to Richard Krajicek, who ended up being the 17th seed and winning the title. Krajicek won 7-5, 7-6, 6-4. Sampras famously vomited on the court in the final set tiebreaker in the quarterfinals against Alex Correia, but Sampras would win the match and defeat Michael Chang to defend his U.S. Open title. Sampras would win his 2nd and last Australian Open in '97, beating Carlos Moya. He would win Wimbledon, finally go back to winning Wimbledon in '97, beating Cedric Pinoline. He was just, fantastic. Sampras survived over Goran to win the Wimbledon title. Sampras had some problems. He couldn't believe it. He was having problems, but then he came back and won Wimbledon in '99, which meant that he tied the Grand Slam singles titles in the Open era of Roy Emerson. Unfortunately, he would have a herniated disc in his back that would cause him to withdraw from the U.S. Open. Agassi would become number 1, but Sampras snapped it back in 2000 and won his 7th and final title at Wimbledon, battling through tendonitis in his right shin, taking down Patrick Rafter in 4 sets, breaking the record of Roy Emerson. Sampras tried his best at a lot of things. Of course, in 2000, that was the last time Sampras was named number 1. In 2001, he shockingly lost a 5-set match to Roger Federer in the round of 16, which basically was the passing of the torch from Sampras to Federer as being a good player. Well, Sampras would make the U.S. Open final, but lose to Lleyton Hewitt. In 2002, he suffered another early exit from Wimbledon, losing to George Bastel of Switzerland. Sampras would have a lot of problems and all that. Well, Sampras ended up winning the U.S. Open despite struggling. He crushed it in 2002, taking down Andre Agassi, and won his 5th U.S. Open singles title, tying him with Jimmy Connors for the Open era thing. He would retire by 2003. And some say Sampras was the best of all time. Unfortunately, though, little did he know, Federer, Djokovic, and Nadal would ruin him. and all that. Sampras had a serve and volley game. He won 7 Wimbledon titles, tying him with William Renshaw back in the old days. But Federer won his 8th in 2017 to break that record. Sampras just couldn't win on clay courts because the French Open, his best finish was a semifinal. Sampras would play some exhibition matches and all of that. He was there for some key matches. Sampras and Agassi had one of the great rivalries of the 1990s because they both were American. They both wanted to be number one. And they both had attractive girlfriends/wives. So, yeah. Pete Sampras' older sister is the women's coach at UCLA. His younger sister is a teacher in Los Angeles, and his older brother is director of the Scottsdale ATP tournament. Sampras married Bridget Wilson and has 2 sons. So, winning all those titles. Winning the Australian Open in 94, 97, no French Open titles. Wimbledon 93, 94, 95, 97, 98, 99, 2000. And the US Open 90, 93, 95, 96, and 2002. So that was good. You got a good legacy. All that. So Sampras won 4 consecutive Wimbledon titles, equal to Novak Djokovic, but second to be unfortunate Roger Federer, who won 5 straight Wimbledons. All that. Sampras, Rafa Nadal, and Ken Rosewall are the only men to win Grand Slam singles in their teens, 20s, and 30s. Sampras only lost 2 matches on center court and 7 overall in England. Sampras was 7-0 in Wimbledon finals. However, that's not the record. Novak Djokovic and Rafa Nadal are ahead of him. Rafa has not lost a French Open final. He's 14-0. And Novak Djokovic, every time he's been to the final in the Australian Open, which was 9 times, he's won. So that's kind of shocking. Pete Sampras knew he had to do right in the world, and he did. He was a fantastic tennis player, and don't you forget it. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.